Good afternoon, everyone. Let's try this again and head right on over into Collectively Rewilding. All right, here we are in Collectively Rewilding, and that is something that we were just talking about, that today's class seems to be really hard for everybody to attend. In fact, it looks like Candace dropped off. She may have had other things that she has to do now as well. Excuse me, probably a scam call. And so we may need to reschedule this class. Part of the reason that we did it at this time, though, is so that we can make calls in the business day, right? So we'll have to think about that, talk about that as a community, and decide where we want to go with that. All right, guys. So today is how-tos for community outreach, and that is hosted out of member meetups. And so last week, it was just me, and it was interesting. So many people go live and they don't have other people with them, and I'm spoiled. I'm so used to having you guys here with me that going live by myself is really boring. But I pulled it off. I managed it. I didn't bail. And so I got a little list ready for the city planning meeting. And that is going to take place next Wednesday, the 10th. And I think it's at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard or Mountain Daylight Time. I think we're in daylight time now. No, this is standard. Daylight time starts in the spring. That's right. I probably just don't want to know because I wish that it didn't exist. I can't stand daylight savings time. Okay, so let me just check in my calendar here really quickly so that I know exactly when the time is. Yes, 7 o'clock. So next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, there's going to be the Tooele City Planning Meeting. And so this will be my initial approach. I probably won't know a single person there unless I can corral my next door neighbor, my buddy Bart, and have him come with me. He's really interested and he wants to participate as well. So I won't have to twist his arm too hard if he has the time, right? So the first thing I'll want to find out is if recordings are allowed. When you are a part of a conversation in the state of Utah, you are legally allowed to record any conversation that you are a part of. There are going to be other laws, though, that interfere with that when you have official types of meetings and things of that nature. When you're in a courtroom, right, that doesn't apply. So I need to find out, on top of the fact which I may not speak at all next week, which would mean I'm not technically a part of the conversation, right? I want to just kind of see how many people attend, how many people speak, what do they talk about, and that's everyone. What do the people that come up and speak within the audience want to talk about? And what does the actual meeting talk about, right? The city planners, the ones that are up there, part of the board or whatever function. And we probably have all that information somewhere here in these tabs, but there are quite a few up there. And I don't think that we really need to tear through that all that much. It'll be something that really will come as we go through. Of course, I will look at that tomorrow. I will look at that next week. In fact, that's probably what we'll do with class next week, is just look over everything that we can find, those pieces that Candace found for us, every little piece, just to be completely in the right mindset for that evening. And I'm really looking forward to getting this journey started. I'm really trepidatious, but you got to start somewhere, right? And that was something that I talked about recently. And I was talking about getting a community going at that point. And I was talking about comparing Collectively Rewilding to Lesko Help too, right? And I talked about people having communities. And I thought, well, but a large portion of the audience here in Collectively Rewilding, the members here, the people that are watching on YouTube, etc., aren't really interested in starting their own community like Collectively Rewilding. And that's not really what I meant, but that would have probably been how it sounded. We are all a part of a community, whether we like it or not, in our physical spaces, with our families, with our friends, our neighbors, our neighborhood, our cities or towns, even to some degree your county and your state, are all a part of a community that you're a part of, whether you participate much or not. And so we all are a part of a community. And if you're not already actively a part of your physical community, when you're going out and you're starting, that's the same kind of thing. You're starting your interactions as a part of that community. Even if you've been a part in some areas, but you want to be a part in another area, you're starting a new foray, right? And so that is another way that we're all constantly developing our own communities across many levels. You have a work community, you have your immediate neighbors, and your neighborhood, which is a little bit wider, right? And whether or not you talk to your neighbors, you are a part of that community, a part of that interaction of people. And we all play our parts, and we all choose what parts that we play. But this is about trying to get back to community, because we all are social creatures biologically. Now, of course, there are going to be outliers, those lone wolves, the people who are agoraphobic, right? Lone wolves and agoraphobic, completely different sides of that spectrum, but they're not really interested, for whatever reason, in being much part of a broader community. However, the majority of us really do have healthier, more productive, proactive lifestyles if we have some sort of community. A lot of people now do find their community online, and I'm not going to completely knock it, but there is something about having a community physically where you are. There are biological processes that actually take place when we're near another person. Our energy fields, and this is all scientifically proven, this isn't mumbo jumbo, new age, religion. This is a scientific approach to things that people do talk about in new age, religion, and all these other types of topics, right? However, it is a scientific proof that we emanate electricity. We have electrical fields. And that's why our phones work. That's why we can do things like have our key fobs in our hand and push a button, or touch our car handles and they open. That's our electrical field. And when we are around other human beings, if they're within about 5 feet, somewhere a little bit less than 6 feet. So when you think about all the distancing back in the day, and you know that you can cough up to 50 feet, all right, and you were separated by 6 feet, just for your own edification, the human biological energetic field interacts with other human beings at about that 5 to 5.5 foot range. If we are next to a person within a little bit less than that 6 foot range, our energy fields interact with one another. And just as when we talk about interacting with the soil and nature and how that brings scientifically proven health benefits to us, having a physical community is like that as well. It is physically proven that for the majority of humanity, we do better when we're happily feeling a part of a physical community, right? And so whether you're growing a community online, whether you're trying to approach a new part of your community, for instance, Miss Candace, where she wants to get these veggies into these kids' hands, that's because she knows her community. She wants that community to have better access for their children to better fruits and vegetables, to better food, to healthier produce than what you can actually get at most grocery stores. Only can you get it more through growing it yourself, even perhaps somewhat at a farmer's market. But again, even if you're getting organic fruits and vegetables at a farmer's market or a grocery store, there are a certain number of pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, etc., that are still allowed to be used on so-called organic food. Now, not all organic food uses those interventions, but there's really no way to know unless you grow it at home or you know the farmer pretty decently who's growing your food, right? And so when she's doing this, It's because she's aware that she's seeing these children in her area eating unhealthier foods, perhaps having unhealthier physical and habit lifestyles, right? Things like that. And so that's what we're all doing. Whether we avoid it or not, we are all a part of a community. And so that's what this is really about, finding ourselves within nature and community again, because we're really isolating more and more from each other and from the natural world. And I 100% believe and can show you scientific documentation that proves that for the majority of humanity, separating oneself from nature and separating oneself from community do detrimental harm to your body, right? Even to your mind. In fact, one of the strongest causes or indicators within a person's elderly life that they will lose their ability to cogitate, probably, that they will begin to lose their senility, that they will become senile, right? One of the biggest precursors that causes that, from what we've researched in human experience, is a lack of community. That really increases your likelihood that you are going to lose your thought processes, your ability to mentally continue to be who you are. And so getting out in nature and getting out in community, even doing things like what we talk about here, right? Getting this strip park here, or getting those veggie buses and the community gardens going for Candace, or even for Miss Tammy, where she's looking to try to keep her property from washing away in wind and water conditions. That also affects her neighbors. And maybe there's already a plan to help people out in this situation and she can become a part of that. Or maybe there really isn't a plan, and maybe in finding out how to solve her problem, a template can be created to help other people in her area keep from having their soil washed away through wind and water. Right? And so going back to this just for a moment, the last two things on the list here are, how far along are they in regards to developing the land that's over here to the west? Final thought, a little bit outside the overall premise of this meeting, and yet I feel it still is adjacent to or in connection to city planning, is this tree advisory that doesn't seem to have done anything since, I think it was 2021, that the tree advisory was put together and there were some decisions made and some reporting pieces put out online. And there's been nothing since then. It was at least 2021 or 2023. So it's definitely been a while. And I would just like to know, is there anything going on with the tree advisory? Are they planning on do they have a plan to deal with all these nasty trees that have been planted on the city easements throughout the town? Do they have ideas of what they want to replace those trees with? Are they going to leave it up to the individual citizens? Or is there going to be a concerted effort to have a unified approach, right? And so those are the things that I would really like to know when I go to this first meeting. And so do you guys have any suggestions that you think should get added to this list, or thoughts in general? And it looks like Benny's having to be the silent guy today. He's in the chat. Oh, and don't worry, Candace. I thought it could have been your internet, or that you might have had something that you had to go do. And so no real thoughts, it sounds like, guys. It is a little bit intimidating, right? Now, if Bart goes, it'll be a lot easier, but I'm going to go whether he goes or not. So it may just be little old me climbing those stairs and going into a very official proceeding, knowing absolutely no one. And knowing that not only am I new to Tooele, but I'm not originally a Utahian, I'm a Coloradan. And Utah is very well known for trying to get people to come to the state. Both the state and the church, the LDS church, really push to bring people into the state. the citizens aren't as fond of that process. So they don't really like newcomers all that much. I'm not exactly as much of a newcomer coming from Cortez, Colorado. It is the closest city to the Four Corners. So we're there. We're in the corner of all of the Four Corners, and we as Cortezians literally visit all the other states to accomplish our regular daily lives. And so all of that Four Corners region that's right smack there in the Four Corners itself, right? By the Four Corners Monument. The actual Four Corners falls in a river. You can't actually go stand on the Four Corners, but they've made a monument. And technically, yes, each of those states do have their little quadrant, right? Just like an embassy. If you go to the Russian embassy, you're technically on Russian soil. Kind of funny. But all of those little cities, Moab, Telluride, Farmington, let's see, so that's Farmington, New Mexico, Moab, Utah, Cortez, Colorado, Durango and Telluride, Colorado. Arizona has some really small things. I believe Tuba City is in Arizona, but they're very rural. Many of them are reservation locations, right? And the tribes in these areas a lot of times really tend to try to keep from having a lot of modernization. And so it's a desolate area by nature and to some degree as a culture. And so I will fit in better than someone from California or Texas or even Montana, but it may not rub some people the right way. So always be aware that you may have some negative moments when you're beginning on a journey like this, and try to just let them slide off your back, because you can't ever please everyone, and people are going to be biased and predisposed when you're meeting someone new and beginning that journey. Many people are going to be very welcoming. There's usually going to be one or two who are not very welcoming. And so really just try to let that be about them. It really isn't about you. They don't know you. How could they have a problem with you, really? So it's about them, right? And just brush it off and just keep a smile on your face and approach someone else. It really is that easy when you're doing this. So take it from someone who's moved somewhere around 60 times in their life. You can do it too. All right. Quick class today, guys. Lots going on, and my keyboard was giving me issues to begin with. So we had a really quick class today. Any thoughts before we close up shop for the afternoon, guys? Everybody's like, I'm just glad you're the one who's going to have to go do this and not me, right? All right. So let's check out our calendar for tomorrow. And that is going to be our garden planning Q&A course. Really enjoying doing all of this wonderful stuff with you guys. And oh, yes, I just created a post for you all. If you head into your notifications or the Gardenary space, there is a 31 days to your 2026 garden here for you. You do have to provide an email address and a phone number. So if you guys are not interested in getting a free download because you don't want to give out your information, don't worry, we will cover it some in class. But this is 31 days, right? Because that's where we're basically at. We're approaching that new year, and this is a couple of days behind, but this is essentially day to day what you can do to get ready for 2026. So we'll definitely check that out tomorrow. All right, jumping into the calendar again to get that finished up. We will be back tomorrow for garden planning Q&A, and that is going to be at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Mountain, 9:30 p.m. Central, and 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you guys there, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Please feel free to unmute and say goodnight, everybody. Benny's silent, but he's visible.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
You unmuted, Benny, but I didn't hear anything.
Good night.
Bye, guys.